Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for Facebook to turn up. So why is the lighting so weird? Oh, well, no worries. Okay. Oh, I got one person on there so far. I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm a little bit early, and Facebook is my slowest lives right now, which is actually really good for you because I usually get to almost all the questions. Instagram is my busiest live, so I don't get to hardly any of those questions. But and TikTok's kind of similar, but Facebook, yeah, I'm still quite new on Facebook, so it's really good. It means that I should be able to answer all your questions. So. And I'm busy right now. I'm adding videos to all my courses. So yeah, that's in the process of happening. Just beefing them up a little bit. You know, you're always kind of changing things. A lot of people have asked for videos on the courses, so I'm doing it. So anyway, my courses, everything's in the link above if you want to check that out. It's the free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and coaching. Everything I've got to offer in my business is in the link above. So if you want to start asking parenting questions, I'm right here. That's why I'm here. So if you want to ask away, I'll do the best I can to answer your questions. And I deal with all ages, like 0 to 18. So teenagers are actually my favorite age. So anyway, just waiting. Facebook's very slow to come in and start asking questions. Instagram is, everyone turns up instantly. It's the weirdest thing. TikTok doesn't. I don't know why it's also different. It's the way that the platforms push it out. So, but yeah, Instagram, everyone turns up in one big bunch. It's really weird. Everywhere else, people come in slowly. Can't figure it out. Okay, so parenting questions. I'm just waiting. Okay. Just waiting for your parenting questions. This is my slowest live, so I usually get to almost all the questions. So that's a good thing. It's good for you. And also, all of my lives are filmed on YouTube, and that's where they're all saved. So does anyone have any questions? I'm just sitting here waiting. My next live is on Instagram. Okay, here we go. Anyway, I do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, 30 minutes on each, every Tuesday and Thursday. Okay, so let me see. Lucinda, how do you deal with a 4-year-old that's a very picky eater? I can't really talk about nutrition, but I do tell you what I did with my own kids. I made everything from scratch, and I had no junk food in the house. So if they didn't eat their broccoli, there was no ice cream waiting for them. That's one thing I did. Also, I never made it a big deal. And, you know, like I never sort of pushed food on them, and I cooked to their taste buds. So I knew what they liked, and I kind of cooked around that. I kind of catered to that because I didn't want a scene around mealtime. I didn't grow up with any of that scene stuff. Like we all just sort of, mealtime was fun. So yeah, a lot of people don't like that advice because I am really radical with food. Like I make everything from scratch, and I don't have junk food in the house. So it really helped. It was a big, if kids think that there's potato chips, cookies, and ice cream waiting for them, they tend to be pickier. My son was actually a very picky eater, but he still ate healthy because that's the only option he had. So also I was very good with sneaking in really healthy stuff into all the food. So like I remember the first time my son had pizza out and about, and he came home and said, "Mommy, the pizza sauce was really weird. It was red," because mine was brown. I used to puree spinach and put it into my homemade tomato sauce or pizza sauce. So yeah, you can get creative with all that. I have 2 questions. One, my 3 and 4-year-old boys fight constantly and end up hitting each other. How do I do consequence for this? You know, okay, 3 and 4 years old, put down no hurting other people. And if they do, the other kid gets their favorite toy for an hour or a half hour or whatever. So if you do something mean to someone, then you have to make it up and do something nice for them. So also watch them like a hawk. Often parents that get that wrong, and they'll tell me in coaching and they'll say, "Oh, my older one's always beating up the younger one." And then I'll ask them more questions and I'll say, "Yeah, that's not what's happening." Do like a fly on the wall with me or with you, and you have them have a camera where they don't know they're being filmed, and you just watch. I'll bet you any money that younger one's doing something to aggravate the older one. So watch them like a hawk so you really understand what's going on, because it's kind of hard to discipline when you don't really know what's happening, right? You often end up disciplining the wrong kid. Who do I give consequence? Yeah, I just answered that. Okay. Also, if a massive meltdown fit stems from being hit, do I still ignore? Um, so one gets hit and they have a huge meltdown because they got hit. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Um, that's kind of a tricky one because I would kind of console the one. He has a huge meltdown because he just got hit. I don't want to answer that. I'll tell you why. I want you to figure out who's the antagonizer, what's going on first, and just get the behavior board going and then see how it goes. Because I'm kind of jumping the gun here. I don't want to tell you what I would do because I'd want to figure out what's going on first of all. So, who do you actually console? The one who got hit or the one that was teased and tormented horribly before he finally gave in and hit? You know what I mean? You got to be careful with that. You want to find out what's going on. If you want to hire me, you can check it out and we can work it out together. If not, just watch some and figure it out. How to help siblings get along. This is something that comes up all the time in coaching, and parents say to me, I don't know why they don't get along. I make a really good point of spending quality time with each one. That's why they don't get along. It builds resentment. If everything's going well, you can do one-on-one time with the whole family together. It doesn't matter. But if your kids are fighting, I would strongly recommend you don't do any one-on-one time with your kids. You do group time. And you always play to the weakest link. And you do silly stuff. You never play anything competitive. Do something like just doing puzzles together or building forts or doing balloon tennis or going to the park and running around the park. Do something that they can all do and it's all fun. It's not competitive. Sorry, I'm getting all sweaty here. I'm talking too much. So anyway, so that's how you get them to get along. Now, here's the thing. When I was playing with my kids, it's always in their world, and how they bonded, they're 5 years apart, a boy and a girl. What did they have in common? Nothing. But you know what they ended up bonding over? Was laughing at me. I always played in their world and I was really silly and goofy, and they ended up making fun of me and laughing at me, and that's how they bonded. So yeah. I got a million different ideas for that, by the way. That's just my latest one. I go in phases what I want to talk about. I have to mix it up so that I stay interested. If I always say the exact same thing every single time, and sometimes that's all I can do. But yeah, with sharing is one that I can mix it all up. Sibling rivalry is another one that I can mix it all up. I got a lot of different ideas for both. Okay. Okay. How do I get my 4-year-old to sleep in her bed? She will cry. Okay, she's 4. Let's keep that in mind here. So it's not for a 2-year-old necessarily, what I'm going to recommend. Anyway, she will cry and fuss so much she makes herself cough and vomit when, just like I'm hitting C more. I'm hitting the C more because I can't see your whole question. It is just tricky to get that thing to work. Cough and vomit when we try to get her into her own room. Okay. Now, she's 4 years old. She's learned that this works. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. It's from 2 to 8 years old. There's 2 parts to bedtime. How to get them to bed and how to get them to stay in bed. Okay? So if she's making herself vomit, she's learned that that works. I would kind of be willing to go through some messes and just letting her keep vomiting, and you don't let her in your bed, you don't let her out of bed, or if she gets out of bed, you put her back and you just keep cleaning up. You got to show her that vomiting and messes are not going to be she can't use that to manipulate you because she's 4, okay? She's kind of learning how to manipulate you. I've known kids who do that. It's not uncommon. They do that, but at 4, they only do what works. So it says to me that it works. I know it's gross. I feel sorry for you. It's gross. I know, but you can't give in to it. So she vomits, and then you say, okay, you can stay in my bed. If she vomits, I'd say, okay, we're going to clean it up. Then you're going back to your own bed. They're going to run out of vomit eventually. Sorry about that, but that's my advice. Everyone wants the rainbow, but I say you got to be willing to go through the storm or the vomit. You got to be willing to go through the tough stuff to get to where you want to go. No one wants that. They all want that. How do we get there easily? How do we make millions of dollars without actually working? How do we get our kids to be respectful without actually having to go through some disrespect? You know, you got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. It's just the way it is. How do you deal with a 5-year-old who swears and calls you names? How do you discipline them without sending them to the... Sorry, I'm trying to hit the C more. Just so finicky on here. How do you get discipline them without sending them to their room? Yeah, you know I hate timeout. That's a tell. It means they don't respect you. Then that means you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. That would not happen. It just doesn't. Check out my boot camp course if you're interested, or at the very least, check out my behavior board. That will teach you how to start disciplining. But the The boot camp course, it's a whole other, it's more intensive, obviously. And if you're really struggling, then that's coaching. That's the next. So it goes free behavior board, mini toddler courses, boot camp course, and then coaching. Anyway. Yeah, now the thing is, if he's swearing at you and everything, he's learned that works. He can get away with that. All children need, crave, and want a leader. It's a natural instinct to want a leader. If you're not a leader for your children, they're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, the drug dealer around the corner, bullying, the Kardashians. They're going to be very susceptible to anything out there in the world. So make sure that you set yourself up as a leader. So we're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. You get it? Like parents say, they're so rude. How do I fix that? Fix yourself and they won't be rude. It all starts and ends with you. They're not rude to you because of them. They're rude to you because of you. You want to blame yourself. Because you want to take responsibility for your child. They're only 5 years old. You want to take full responsibility for their behavior. When I was working with kids, troubled teenagers, didn't matter what age, whenever they acted out or did anything I didn't like, I always thought, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? I saw them like an hour a week and I still blame myself. You can also take the credit, by the way. Take the blame and the credit. In other words, be accountable for their behavior when they're with you. And when you're parents, be accountable for their behavior everywhere. People don't want to hear that, but if you're not responsible for your kids, who is? It's not the teachers. It's not the police. Might have to be one day, but you want to be responsible for your children's behavior. Between the ages of 3 and 12, their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. When they're toddlers, they're just crazy. When they're teenagers, they're going to try some things. Hopefully nothing big. But yeah, they're going to exercise their own power a little bit here and there. They'll still respect you if you're a leader. But yeah, their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting between the ages of 3 and 12. That's why my boot camp course is between the ages of 3 and 12. You're at the height of your leadership. They want to please you. Okay. So I'm going to hit the see more button again. It drives me nuts that doesn't work. 8-year-old can get obsessive and have a tantrum when told to stop a project. Now this is an 8-year-old. How do I make her tantrums less intense or not happen? I will tend to walk away and ignore the situation. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. 8 years old, they're still having tantrums. I'd want to investigate that. When told to stop a project. What project? I don't know what you mean. And by the way, past the age of 4 years old, they only do what works. So it says to me that tantrums work. You walk away, but I don't know. What do you mean by projects? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah. Tantrums generally don't happen past the age of 3.5 to 4 when you're a leader. You might want to check out my boot camp course. It's all focused on you. It's your leadership skills, and it tends to regulate their emotions. They tend to calm down when you're a leader. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by project, though. Screen time for 3.5-year-old. How long is? Oh, I can't answer that. I don't know. That's subjective. Like it's kind of like asking. Like it's an opinion. How much screen time should a child have? Nobody really knows that. What's healthy? What isn't? If anyone says they know, they're lying. Nobody really knows. You won't know till they're 50 years old and they look back and they think, yeah, that was good or that was bad. Like you don't know. You don't know what you're investing in with that right now. So yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I am unable to hear your video. Could a response be typed, please? You want me to type a response? I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Okay. You want me to work twice as hard while I'm doing all these videos? No, I'm not doing that. I try not to react to it, but she's calling teachers names. I always try to never use any derogative names or come down on. Okay, just a sec here. Is this the same one as before? Just a second here. I want to figure this out. Or come down on her. Okay, I'm just going to go back and see if that's the same mom. Just a second here. Okay, how do you do a 5-year-old who swears and calls you names? Oh, okay. That's it. Brittany's. Okay, just a sec here. Okay, I already answered your question. It just means she doesn't have a leader. They're completely lost and they're out of control when they don't have a leader. They only need one, and it's got to be you. Don't expect the teacher to do that. They got 30 kids and they got to cater to all those kids. Yeah, it's not the teacher's job to parent. It's your job. And parenting and leadership should go hand in hand. So work on your leadership skills, and that would not happen. It just doesn't. You're trying to look to fix her. She doesn't need fixing. She's reacting to your parenting. That's all she's doing. Her behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. Work on yourself, set up your leadership skills. You can start with my behavior board if you want, but if you really want to get more, more in depth with it, check out my boot camp course. It goes for 5 weeks, and it's all focused on you and your leadership. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. Yeah, she's just reacting to your parenting. That's it. My daughter will be 5 years old next month and has had a resurgence of aggression recently, scratching and pretending to be animals that hit and scratch. She did this at 3 years old, but it came back. At this age, I don't know how to ignore it. Is it phase? At 3, we did use timeout. Oh, I hate timeout. And it worked within 2 weeks. Now it's back, and I don't know what okay, there again. Okay, she's only just turned, he said, will be 5. Okay, she's almost 5. Again, work on your leadership skills. She's testing you. Often they come out with these behaviors because they're desperate for leadership. They don't know how to communicate that. They don't go up to you and say, by the way, mother and father, I would love some leadership here. They don't know how to communicate that. Acting out is how they ask for leadership. So work on yourself, work on your leadership skills, and that stuff just doesn't happen because they're so happy. They have such high self-esteem. They're so proud of themselves, and they feel good about themselves when they're around you. When they have a really calm leader and fun leader too, so you're fun when everything's great. When they act out, you get very calm, and your discipline is just like, it's like a business transaction. There's no emotions when you're disciplining. But most of the time, you want to be fun and all amiable and all happy and all that stuff. You want to be positive. So when they've got that kind of influence at home, and they just don't act out. They just don't. Why would they? My son was in grade 2, and his teacher called me on her lunch hour to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She said, Lisa, I got to tell you this. I thought it was so adorable. And my son's in grade 2, and she said to him, why are you so nice? And he looked up at her all serious, and he says, Mommy makes us be nice. And I'm like, you're darn right. That's my job. So yeah, they were happy kids. That's why they didn't act out. They were happy. Does a kid who's acting out and scratching and yelling and swearing, do they look happy? No. Leadership builds happy kids. And when they're happy, you're the cause of that, and they tend to want to please you, right? They're not rude to the person that's the source of their happiness. Leaders provide a sense of safety, happiness, pride in their children. Do you have any differing recommendations for a child with autism? I don't discuss that on here. That's a specialty, that's special needs. I only discuss that in one-on-one coaching. If you want my help with that, you'd have to hire me for coaching. That's all in the link up above. Okay. Okay, what if the ages are from 2 to 13? It's hard to find something for all. Okay, you can just keep watching all my lives. It's mostly toddler stuff. For the 2-year-old, but 13-year-old, I don't have any courses yet. That would be coaching. So you're right. I do the course from 3 to 12 years old. I will have a parenting course one day for teenagers. That's a little bit down the road. I got a lot of stuff planning. I've got a lot on my plate right now. Anyway, it's all to serve you better. So I just go with what I think you need next, and the parenting course is not what you need next. So according to what people email me about. Anyway, so yeah, just keep watching my videos. That's all I can say. And my lives. I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. They're my favorite age, by the way. They're just great. Once you know how to get respect for the teenager, they're just the best. Okay, so this is my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. When you get good at what I call silent listening, they're going to tell you everything. Okay, and number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. You say something like this: I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? You don't do it. It's not like a blanket statement, but you get the idea. You got to negotiate with them. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff if you ever have it, because you're going to need it. You do not micromanage a teenager. You allow them to make mistakes. If they did something stupid and it's not a big deal, I would have said, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did at your age? Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. I'll also read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I don't know why I only have 3 for teenagers. I don't know. You think it would be more for teenagers, but for some reason it isn't. Okay, These are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You play with them in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with a toddler to connect with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is about discipline. It's kind of the same as number 3. You connect with them when you're disciplining by entering their world. They're not about words. These mini therapy sessions are just garbage. They were invented to feed the mom. It's all about, no, your big emotions, your big feelings. It's garbage. It's not them. They need consistent corrective actions, not words. That is their world. Okay, you don't expect a toddler to find their inner adult and have a mini therapy session. It doesn't make any sense at all. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They don't make any sense. They're not supposed to. They haven't formed yet. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and for the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they haven't got any, they just don't get it yet. I always call toddlers crazy, but it's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. They're not there yet. They're just forming. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. I'm exaggerating, of course. Okay, how would you explain that the baby, 5 months, has to sleep in mommy's room, but the 4-year-old cannot? I don't explain myself. I say, just like you did. You were 5 months old and you slept in my room just like the baby does. Yeah, I wouldn't explain that. I don't explain everything. I think they understand. At 4 years old, they understand it. They're just trying to challenge you on it. That's what that says to me. That's exactly what that says to me. They're just challenging you. It's like, come on. Yeah, they're 4. They get it. They understand. 4-year-old hitting and taunting 5-year-old in the car. We moved the car seats because he wouldn't stop. Good idea or not? Well, you can't do much about the taunting because that's more attitude and but you can certainly do something about the hitting. So use the behavior board and you put down no hitting. And then when you get home, you say, okay, you hit, we're going to look at the behavior board when we get home. Then when you get home, there's a consequence. Check out the behavior board. That's actually the example I use. It's not a good one for if they're hitting is older, because usually the consequence is that the victim gets to play with their favorite toy. The 5-year-old probably won't want the 4-year-old's toy or whatever they like. Anyway, but figure it all out for yourself. But you got to set up rules and consequences for everybody in the family. And for the 4-year-old, if they hit, you always put no hitting. But the taunting, you can't put that down. And you brought up an interesting point. You said separating them. Is that a good idea or not? I wouldn't do it. The reason is I like to invite the challenge. I like to, I wouldn't try to avoid it, because it makes you look like you're afraid of them. Like you don't know how to handle them. That's what timeout's all about. I don't know what to do. Go over there. I kind of like bring on the fit, the scene, the tantrum, because I know how to deal with it. I'm not afraid of kids. I say this all the time, but anyway, I worked with this little kid once and he was 8 years old. He didn't know me. And he said to me, obviously he was a handful. I never got handed an easy kid. They always said, good luck with this one. He was one of those. Anyway, and he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he went like this and he never did. So yeah, I call their bluff. There's no way I would avoid a scene. I invite it. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. So yeah, I wouldn't separate them, but if it makes your life easier, go ahead. But they're not really learning anything. I like the lessons. But anyway, if you don't know exactly what to do, then separate them. I know exactly what to do. Like in other words, they would respect me at that age, 4 and 5 years old. Yeah. So if it makes your life easier, separate them. But I like to bring that stuff on because that's my opportunity. Examples of good leadership skills. I would say listening is almost always number 1. You get really good at listening and you don't want to tell your kids what to do. I never really did that. My mom didn't either. My mom would say, if I said to my mom, Mommy, what should I do? I've got a problem. She always answered the same way. And I was little. She would say, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. So she always encouraged me to think for myself. And and I always thought I was solving all my own problems, but turns out she was coaching me, but made me think I was solving them. So yeah, you don't want to just tell your kids what to do. You want to encourage them to think for themselves. So I'd say that's a really good skill. You don't want obedient soldiers. You don't want to tell your kids what to do. You don't want to be micromanaging your kids all the time. You want them to know what to do and do it. Okay. Okay. As a behavior intervention elementary teacher, thank you for everything you share. Super helpful. A lot of teachers hire me, by the way. I love how real you are. Many of my students are in my class because of unstable households and parents who need more support being leaders. Those are all the kids I work with. That's where I learned all this. I learned all this. I called them alphabet kids. They always had acronyms after their name: ADHD, WXYZ. I mean, all of them did. So, and I never even looked at their files. I got handed gigantic files sometimes. I never opened one, not ever, even with the troubled teenagers. I thought, no, I'm just going to connect with them and show them I know how to be a leader and I respect you. I always give respect to get it. And but yeah, huge portion of my clients for coaching are teachers, principals, child psychologists. I couldn't do their job, like I couldn't do what you do. But and they struggle with parenting. It's not that they're struggling more than anybody else. It's just they're learners and they want to get it right. Okay, so yeah, they identify that parenting is a different relationship. It's just experience based. I thought I was going to be a child psychologist. I tell that story a lot, but yeah, what happened? I got kicked out because I didn't agree with anything they were saying. I thought it was a bunch of garbage. That was 40 years ago. It was very patronizing towards the kids. I just thought I would never do that. Anyway, okay. What would you suggest I do in terms of consequences for my son, 7, when he hits his sisters out of frustration because he wants a toy they have or throws huge fits when he doesn't get his way? I'm struggling with this. Check out my boot camp course. That might be for you. If you just want to sort of see how things go in the boot camp course, check out the behavior board. That's completely free. The boot camp course isn't. It's 5 weeks teaching you how to be a leader. It kind of goes through all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know exactly what's built that because he's 7. Why is he still doing that at 7? So yeah, I'd want to figure that out. But anyway, check out the boot camp course, and the behavior board's free. So you can check that out first. I have a 14-year-old who has refused to get up and go to school. Yeah, I hear this all the time. Nothing has worked to motivate them. Okay. Interesting. Is that the pronoun them? Yeah, it's interesting. I hear that a lot. I get that wrong all the time. Anyway, 14-year-old. The thing is with teenagers, right now, it's basically all one-on-one coaching with me because I need to assess what kind of parent you are. What's your history? Why do they not want to go to school? What's their social life like? Are they partiers? Are they introverts? Are they online all day long? What are they looking up online? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I need to know all that before I can tell you how to move forward. Teenagers are more complicated because you have a lot of history with teenagers, and they are hormonal, and they're moody, and they're very, very smart. I'll tell you a funny story, though. My son was 16 years old. I love this story. And I went downstairs because I said, sweetie, the garbage truck is coming. You haven't taken the garbage out yet. And that was his job. And he said, Mom, he's holding his controller in his lap playing video games. Like he couldn't hold it up. He says, Mom, he says, I swear, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm so tired. I can't even hold my controller up. And I really respect hormones and growth spurts. And he was shooting up. He was like, 6 feet tall at this point. So I thought, okay, he's just going through another growth spurt. He could barely keep his eyes open. So I ran out, got the garbage out myself. And I'm like, okay, sweetie, can I get you a cup of tea or toast with honey? All that. Anyway, so you know what happened? I went upstairs and I heard him this is all I heard. I heard his phone ring, and then I heard some noise downstairs, and then I heard, Mom, I'm going out. I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'll see you later. All of a sudden, he's full of pep when it's something he wants to do. Well, he paid for that later on, of course, when he came home. But anyway, so yeah, they're very lazy when it's something they don't want to do. And they literally sort of seem to run out of steam. But as soon as it's something piques their interest, they're like all for it. Whereas I'm 63 years old. It doesn't matter if I'm tired. I'm tired. It doesn't matter what's going on. Okay, maybe if Keanu called. Okay, that would be an exception. Okay. Oh, what time is it? I'm going to move over to Instagram now because I do 30 minutes on Facebook, 30 minutes on Instagram, 30 minutes on TikTok. If you want to join me on Instagram, that's my busiest live. I don't get to a quarter of the questions over there. So this is a good one. I usually get to almost all the questions on here. Anyway, if you check out my link, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. So that's on the link above. So if you want to join me over on Instagram, I'm on YouTube the whole time. So, but the other ones I move around. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Sorry, YouTube. I'm just going on Instagram now. There we go. Instagram's weird. Instagram, everyone turns up at the exact same time. Like 100 people, bang, all at the same time. None of the other platforms do that. I can't figure it out. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm just waiting. Hello. Oh my goodness, everyone's here. Okay, so some of you might have come over from Facebook. If I didn't get to your questions, you can ask here. I don't guarantee I can get to all the questions at all. I do my best, okay? So if you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course teaching you how to be a leader in 5 weeks, or you can hire me for coaching. So first question, my 3.5-year-old gets angry and cries when he sees other kids getting presents and having birthdays. Okay, he's 3.5. I have to add that in my head. He says he wants presents and a party too. Is he spoiled? How do we change? He thinks everything is for him. He'll learn. Just say no. It's not about you. It's for them. Remember, you had a birthday and you got presents and they didn't? Just let it go. Let him have a fit. Let him process that. You cannot interrupt that process. He's got to learn it's not all about him. He will eventually learn, but he's going to go through some real emotional times probably. So I'm going to tell you a funny story, actually. My son was probably about 3. He would have been about 3. And anyway, so in Australia, where I raised my kids, I don't know if they do it here because my kids were grown when I moved back here, a lot older. Anyway, in Australia, they have all these trees with like little like name tags on them. And you can grab one, then you buy a toy for that kid. And they always put down the sex of the kid, like boy or girl. And then they put down, I guess that's not politically correct anymore, but anyway, and then they put down the age. And sometimes they'd even put what they like, you know. Anyway, so I always did this every year. So I said to my little boy, I said, sweetie, I said, we're going to buy a toy for the, and I said, now, do you want to get a toy for a little girl or a little boy? And he goes, and he wanted a little boy his own age. Stupid me. I said, sounds like a great idea. Just dumb. Anyway, so we go and we get this little tractor, a ride-em tractor. It was a really nice toy. So we get this nice, he already had one, but it was a different color. So anyway, you know, one of those big plastic ride-em tractor things. So anyway, he loved that thing. Boy, it was loud on the concrete. So anyway, we get that, we go home, and then we wrap it all up. And the whole time I'm saying to my little boy, I'm saying, you're so giving because, you know, not every kid gets all these nice things you have. Some of them don't get, you know, presents on Christmas. And he's going, I know, mommy, I want to give. And I'm like, oh, my precious angel. He's so giving and kind. And I was just, you know, so anyway, we go back to the store and we've got this thing all wrapped up with the name tag on it. And I said, okay, sweetie, you go put it underneath the tree. And he starts carrying it and he goes like this. He goes, no, I want to keep it. So we ended up a tug of war, papers ripping, and we ended up getting it back underneath the tree. But yeah, there you go. So it's very hard for them to learn this stuff, but you got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. He eventually learned. He was like 15, 16 when he figured that out. Okay. Hi from the Philippines. Hello. What to do when kids keep saying no to any punishment? Well, follow through. So what if they say no? What difference does it make? You're following through. You're in charge here. So make it happen. It's like a very good example of that with toddlers was when my kids first started squirming during diaper changes. I just put my arm across their chest and zip, 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 it was all done. I didn't care if they squirmed. They learned very quickly mom was in charge and they didn't fight it. But with dad, they would squirm and he'd say, okay, if you get down, you pick out a toy, then will you be good? You know, he was always reasoning with them and everything. So that's funny. They learn who's in charge. Yes, how to calm down my toddler when they are being resistant in public while trying to avoid a meltdown. Well, that's your problem. You don't avoid it. You wait till it happens and then you deal with it. If you're trying to avoid it, you're afraid of them. I have no fear of fit scenes or tantrums. None. Because I know that's where all the lessons are. If you try to stop that, the only way to stop it is to give them everything they want, when they want, and how they want it. You really want to do that? And even then they're going to get worse and worse and worse because their demands are going to get even higher. So there's no way of avoiding that. Not in the long run anyway. So you either give in to everything they want or you teach them a lesson. Yeah, I've already told this story. I can't remember if I told it here or just on Instagram or on Facebook. I can't remember. Anyway, that 8-year-old boy that I'd never worked with before, and he was a handful. And he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. He was like, oh, she called my bluff. No, he would have had one, but he thought, oh, she knows what she's doing. So there's no point. But yeah, I had no fear of it. Like to me, every fit scene and tantrum is an opportunity for me to exercise my leadership. So I'm like, bring it on. That's my opportunity. I love that stuff. I get results so much quicker if I get that. If they don't have a fit with me right away, it's a bit slower. I can still get respect, but it's slower. If they see how I manage their fit scenes and tantrums, like they don't bother me at all, I get respect right away. Yeah, don't be afraid of that. 13-month-old triplets biting, how to discipline. Yeah, not much you can do. Keep them separate as much as possible. Make sure they all have the exact same toy and just watch them like a hawk. They're 13 months old. I don't know what you want from me, but I can't help you with that. Like you're going to have to go through some stuff. You got triplets. They're a lot of work, physically very demanding. So yeah, can't avoid all that. Can you please give me different vocabulary other than no or do not for toddlers? Why? They understand the word no. You want them to learn the word no. If you don't, then yeah, you're more the pleaser parent style. You're not going to like anything else I say. I like the word no. It says it like it is. No, you can't have everything you want. It's okay for them to hear that. It's not damaging in any way. Unless that's all you ever say. Okay. How can I get the rest of my family on board with my new approach? What you can do is say, look, I'm doing this approach, so can you just be with me for 3 weeks? Can we make an agreement? You're going to back me up for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, we'll do it your way. So have that conversation and say, can we all get on board? Just let me be the leader for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work at all, then we'll do it your way. It's about all you can do. Because if they don't watch me and they don't like, or if they do and they hate me, they're not going to be on board unless you word it like, for me, can you just let me be in charge for 3 weeks? See if it works. Hello from Australia. Love your work. Thank you. Yeah, that's where my kids were born and raised, Australia. The only reason I moved back to Canada was my mother got ill and she was elderly. She died in my arms a few years later. It was beautiful. If a death could be beautiful. She was 93. So anyway, but yeah, the only reason I left Australia was just to be with my mother. I think when you're younger, you tend to move to where you want. And I moved because I married an Australian. But you move for different reasons. But when you get older, you move to be with who you love. You understand how important people are as you get older, you know? Yeah, it's just funny. I'm 63 now. You just look at things differently. Love is everything. Not saying you should never move away from loved ones, but it's funny how they pull you back in because you really want to be with them. I like that. Ha ha. What? I can't remember what I said. Was it about the tantrums and the scenes? I can't remember. Okay. Oh, okay. Easy answer. Almost 3-year-old constantly talking over me and arguing with me about doing every single thing himself. Everything takes forever. I say something once and then I take action. I don't argue with them. So let's say I say to a 3-year-old, okay, we got to go. And they say no. And I don't say anything after that. I go pick them up, cart them up to the car, strap them in, kicking and screaming if necessary. Next time, they're not going to fight me as much because they realize whatever I say is going to happen. Like I'm of my word. I'm very consistent. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And they learn that. There's no anger in it. Like we've got to go. It's going to happen. If you show anger, you're losing. Leaders don't get angry. Leaders are very calm. So if I said to my kids, we're going to go and they said no, and they would have seen my face like that. And they just went, okay, because they knew it was going to happen. I take action. So yeah, I would just look at them like, are you nuts? You're actually going to fight with me? Good luck with that. It's going to happen. So yeah, they learn. With their dad was the pleaser, I was the leader. That's usually the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that. He backed me up though. We were on the same page, okay? So if he was having problems with the kids and I wasn't around, because they would push him when they were really little if I wasn't around. And then he said to me one day, how do I manage that? Because I was already naturally a leader. So I said, just say to them, do you want me to tell mom? That's all it took. Do you want me to tell mom? No, never mind. I'll do whatever you want. I never even did anything. They're just sort of drawn to that leader. They sort of want to please the leader. That's what it's all about. It's not that they're afraid of you. They just want to please you. Okay, my mother used to ask me this, and it's a bit of a story here. How do you be in charge but also be the fun parent? That's how you do it. The one who's in charge is usually the goofiest one. Because you can have the freedom to be goofy. My kids were so well behaved with me. I had all the freedom in the world to just be a total goofball with them. Got an 18-month-old girl. I appreciate your parenting. Okay, so my mother used to say to me, how do you do that? And I said, what do you mean? And I'm running around the house with underpants on my head chasing the kids. And she goes, because you're nuts. You're crazy with them. And yet they respect the heck out of you. And I said, that's why. It's because I'm fun. They don't want to lose fun mom. I was nuts. I really was. I was a crazy one for sure. And I would chase them around the house every time I do laundry. I remember once I had a friend over and I was doing the laundry, and because she was a neighbor and that. So anyway, I'm doing the laundry and she goes, "What are your kids doing?" They were running around the house and they were super easy kids. And all of a sudden they're running around the house screaming. And she goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, you'll see." Because I thought, what's she talking about? Every time I did the laundry, which was every single day, I put all the underpants on my head, and the leg holes were the eye holes, and I called myself the panty monster. So better watch out, panty monster's getting ready, and I put all the underpants on my head, and then I chased them around the house. So because I was the leader, I had the freedom to do that because they never got carried away with me. They were always really respectful. They want to please the leader. The leader is the goofball. That's it. The better leader you are, the more time you have to just be fun. Right? Now, if my kids had ever stepped a toe out of line, I would have gone like this, underpants off. I would have said, I didn't like that. And the fun would have ended like that. That would have been the discipline. That's all I would need to do. Oh, sorry, mom, sorry. And I'd say, well, tomorrow we'll start again. So anyway, yeah, the leader is the fun one. Not to say the other one isn't, but leadership gives you all the time and freedom in the world to be goofy and fun. I was best friends with my kids. We had a riot right through the teen years. Yeah, because I was a leader. I just want to go on and on and on about that. I could go on for hours about that. All my philosophy behind this and why it works so well. I've worked with hundreds of kids, troubled teenagers, toddlers, everything in between. This stuff works. It just does. Okay. I always got respect. Was it the kids or was it me? Didn't matter how old they were. I always managed to get respect, but I always lead with fun and humor. Always. Because I had no leverage with other people's kids. If I was working with other people's, I had no leverage. Nothing, but I could take away fun Lisa for a few seconds or a couple of minutes, right? I always used to say my weapon of choice with kids, because people used to say, how do you get respect with all these kids? My weapon was fun. So I always lead with fun and optimism, and I'm always trying to build them up and make them feel good about themselves. If you make kids feel bad about themselves, guaranteed you'll get the worst out of them. If you make kids feel good about themselves, you'll pretty much always get the best out of them. Build them up, build them up. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus and your energy is what grows. If you're always focused on trying to correct bad behavior will grow and grow and grow. Okay? Deal with bad behavior like that, like pulling off a Band-Aid, then the rest of the time you're just bonding with these wonderful children. Treat them like they're gold. When they like themselves, when they're with you, they want to please you. Okay, how can I correct bad self-talk? Yeah, that's an issue. I don't know how old they are, though. Also, my middle one is always having angry upward. Okay, work on your leadership skills. That's my gut reaction. Work on your leadership skills, and that won't happen. Bad self-talk says to me that they're probably naughty. They feel like crap about themselves. It's a perpetuating, like a hamster wheel. They're naughty. You're always having to discipline them. And then when they're good, you go, oh, you're having a really good day. It's all, I'm just guessing. Is that kind of how it's going? It's like a hamster wheel. Bad behavior, discipline, you're frustrated. The other one's got the angry outbursts. It's just kind of like that. Check out my boot camp course. It teaches you how to be a leader, and when you're a good leader, it calms them all down. Gets that all sorted out. How do I get my wife on board with brat busting without telling her she's being too passive? Why do you need to tell her that? You don't have to tell her that. Where was I? Who was I talking to? Oh, it's just the other day. Oh, shoot. What was it? It was someone on a live, and they said something. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, and they said, oh, well, you're doing really well. We'll get on board with this. We'll do this parenting because then you'll be a better parent. And they couldn't help but get that little passive aggressive insult in there. And I said, no, just focus on what you're going to do well. Say, you know what? We could be better parents. This Bratbusters, I think she knows what she's talking about. Do you want to give it a go? See how it goes? And then don't say, because you're too passive. You don't need to add that. What's the point in adding that? Just say, we want to both be better parents. How about we, check this out? I think she knows what she's talking about. Let's check it out. Because you're too passive. You don't need to add that. You don't need to add that. Okay. So I got to, oh, sugar. Sorry, I forgot I had to scroll through. Oh my goodness, I missed so many questions. I usually try on Instagram. I always forget it doesn't scroll for me, and I get so many questions on here. So I tend to go to the most recent one because the other people might have already left. So I don't want to answer their question if they've already left. Not that it doesn't usually help everyone anyway. Okay. Yeah, okay. My 5-year-old son comes home from his dad's house and is very poorly behaved, doesn't listen to instructions, and plays too rough for about 3 days. Okay, it's the transition stuff. There's really not much you can do about that other than just be a really calm leader because they'll transition quicker the more calm as a leader you are, when you're disciplining, especially. Don't get upset over things, but you can be fun. Okay, I always talk about calm leadership. That's when you're disciplining, but you also want to be fun, but don't get too crazy because if they're all transitioning and they're kind of in that zone, just try and stay calm and they'll calm down quicker because they're watching you. They're not listening to you, by the way. Kids watch you. I saw this scientist talk the other day, a couple months ago, and he was saying what I've kind of always said. He said that they just did this big study. I don't know, they change all the time, right? I'm very aware of that. I've been studying this for years, decades now, and they keep changing what they believe in. Anyway, so he said, though, that they've decided that you form in the first 7 years. That's who you form intuitively who you are. But children don't learn through listening. They learn through, what was it, observing. They observe. So no matter what you say to them, they're not, that might have something to do with it, but he said, no, they learn through observation. I've always said that. Kids aren't listening to you, they're watching you. I didn't know exactly what age, but I mean, it's pretty much all the way through, I would say. Because a lot of kids, even when they're teenagers, they might have parents who are really wild and party and drink and get drunk and smoke. And I'd never be like that. Sure enough, they turn 21 or something and they follow the same path as their parents because that's what they've observed their whole lives. It's what they see, what they observe is what influences more than anything. At any age. The scientist said 7, but I would say it kind of goes, who knows when it ends? I don't know. Although one thing I always said, kids sort of form empathy. They understand they're not the only ones in the whole world, and they can actually understand empathy. And it happens at 3 years and 9 months. I've been saying that for about 50 years. 3 years and 9 months, I've seen a huge shift in kids. They start to sort of understand, oh, other people have feelings too. They just start to get it. They can parrot it and say it, but they just start to get it. And then sure enough, just in a few years ago, I never look up what other people are saying about parenting because kids taught me all this stuff. Anyway, and I watched this scientist talk about brain development or something, and he said the exact same thing. He said they used to say it was 5 years old they develop empathy, or it was 2.5. Now they're saying 3 years and 9 months. They should have listened to me 50 years ago. Anyway, 3 years and 9 months, you really start to see it. They start to look around. They look at people differently. Oh, you have feelings too. It's just a shift. It's quite interesting. I find it interesting anyway. Bum, 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 bum. Sorry, just checking out my notes. Oh, I love this question. This comes up a lot in coaching. Okay, how to be the fun mom like you when you don't enjoy playing with kids. I get a lot of clients like this, and uh, I always stop talking when I get too many ideas. I get confused. I confuse easily. Um, Okay, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. I was working with this mom a year or two ago. I don't remember. Anyway, she had a little boy, I don't know, 6 or 8 around there, and she'd never played with him ever. She said, I watch him play. I take him places to play centers, and I watch him play, and I'm very supportive. And I said, yeah, you got to get down the ground. You connect with them in their world. You don't sit on the bench and clap when they're doing something. You get out there with them. That's how you really connect. Anyway, so if her rule was no yelling. Most of my clients yell. Most parents yell because they don't know what else to do. So we always put down as your rule on the behavior board, no yelling. Her consequence for yelling was I said, he loved Lego. She'd never played Lego with him ever. And I said, your consequence for yelling is you have to play Lego with him for 30 minutes. And she goes, but I hate that. And I said, just do it. That's your consequence. You have to do it. So I put my foot down. I said, that's it. You can't change it. So anyway, that was week 2, I think, in coaching when we did this. And then week 3, and she was really struggling because she'd never really enjoyed parenting, right? You know, a lot of parents don't. And a lot of them, when I'm coaching them, they admit that. They say, I love my child more than life, but I don't enjoy my child. I don't enjoy parenting. So that's my job, is to get them on board and enjoy it, right? Anyway, so on week 3, she turns up like this. And I said, what's that big smile about? And she goes, I yelled. And she goes, I didn't play Lego for 30 minutes. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I played for 3.5 hours. She sat down and she goes, it was a completely different little boy. And I said, yeah, I know. He crawled into her lap and he just kept looking up at her, telling her how much he loved her. And they played for 3.5 hours. She goes, that was truly the first time she'd ever really, she always loved him, but this first time she ever really enjoyed him and his company. She goes, he was completely different. And I said, that's because you entered his world. You're in his world. Talk about making him feel special and loved. Their children's love language is fun. And she was having fun with him. And they pick up on when you're pretending too. Anyway, it all sort of happened organically. But isn't that beautiful? Like 3.5 hours. We were both crying. You know, they say as a coach, you're not supposed to get emotionally involved. I think that's crap. I always get emotionally involved. It's garbage. How can you not? You're dealing with people's, their mothers, fathers, they're all crying on that. How can I not get caught up in that too? I still have to obviously get the job done, but I just get so much reward out of that. Like that was just a beautiful story. Anyway, so find a way to enjoy them. Check out my behavior board and think about what I just said. If you yell at your kids, that's your rule. Your consequence is you have to play with them in their world. You don't just take them somewhere and sit on a bench and on your phone. That's not what I'm talking about. If you go to the park with them, you get on the swing with them. Oops, I gotta scroll ahead because I got so many questions. Please post this live. All of my lives are saved on YouTube. It's Bratbusters Parenting everywhere. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, obviously, Facebook, and YouTube. I don't do any of it anymore. I've got someone doing it all. I just do all the talking. But yeah, they're all saved on YouTube. All of my lives are saved on YouTube. It's funny because I can't watch myself. I went to watch one of my videos. And I just about got sick. It's so hard to listen to yourself. Okay. But anyway, if you want to see if I answered one of your questions and you didn't get the answer, then you might want to check that out. Yeah, I've been asked this before and I hate my answer because it's so stupid. Do you have top tips for parenting 3 to 12-year-olds like you do for teens and toddlers? No, I don't, because I don't know why. I don't even have a good answer for that. Why don't I? Like, why? I have top tips for parenting toddlers up to 3, and then top tips for parenting teenagers 13 and up. 3 to 12 years old, that's the boot camp course. It's not that I don't have it because I want you to buy the course. It's just I don't know why I don't. Okay, I'll write it down. I don't know why. I never have a good answer. A lot of people have asked me that. Top tips for parenting kids. And when I say kids, I know it's 3 to 12. Why don't I? I guess because I figure the behavior board kind of takes care of that. Teenagers are different. The behavior board, I don't even always use it when I'm coaching with teenagers. But yeah, the behavior board sort of teaches you how to do all this. I don't know. Isn't that funny that I've never done that? Anyway, yeah, I wrote it down. I'll write something out. So the next time I'm doing a live, or one other time, I'm so busy. One of these times when I'm doing a live, I'll have my top tips for parenting 3 to 12-year-olds. There you go. I should have had that. The reason why I didn't want to answer that is because I knew I didn't have a very good answer for it. I got so many things. You should see my to-do list. All these ideas I've got spinning around in my head. Okay. How do you get any child to take medicine when they absolutely refuse and throw it up because they give themselves anxiety? I got no answer to that. The only thing I can think of is if you have a show or a song or something, a video that they absolutely love, they only get to see that if they take the medicine. They have to take the medicine first, and then they can watch that. But they can only see it when they have to take medicine. It's the only thing I can come up with. Because you're talking about anxiety, and it's medicine. It's like a shot. How do I make shots easy, like immunizations easy? I don't know. How do I make flying with a toddler easy? I don't know. Like, there's certain things that are just, you can't fix it, in other words. By the way, I could give myself a needle. I don't need to, but I could. Like, needles don't bother me at all. But if anyone goes near my kids who are 34 and 29 to this day, if I saw anyone going near my kids with a needle, I'm just like, my eyeballs go back and I'm out. I can't handle it. Anyone else I can handle it, but my kids, I can't handle. Isn't that weird? Okay. So I got to flip through because I got to get to the most recent ones in case people have left. So my YouTube channel, Bratbusters Parenting. Everything is Bratbusters Parenting. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I don't manage any of it anymore. I've got someone doing it for me who is way better at doing that than I ever was. I can talk. It's all the other stuff posting. I don't know what I'm doing. I did TikTok on my own for the last couple of years, but yeah, now I'm not doing that. I'm no good at it. Okay, I just hate doing tags and everything. I don't know. I'm no good at all that stuff. Oh, you work in childcare? I don't discuss that because I only teach parenting. I know a lot of people ask me about that, and they do utilize my tips for in schools and all that, but I don't teach that. If some of the stuff does carry over, but a lot doesn't. A good example of that is I can't stand reward charts as a parent. I think they're horrible. If you have a reward chart for good behavior, you know what the message you're sending your children? You're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. The behavior board says you're normally wonderful. If you should happen to do something bad, I know how to deal with it. See the difference? Whereas reward charts work beautifully in schools. It's an institution. That home is personal. They're different. That's why so many of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. They're great at the institutional and the business of children, but home-based parenting is different. It's a specialty. That's all I teach. I don't teach anything else. I wouldn't have a clue how to be a child care worker, a principal, teacher, child psychologist. I wouldn't have a clue. I have no interest in any of that. It's not my thing, not my niche. 4-year-old won't poop on potty, comes up a lot. Doc says because, okay. 4-year-old won't poop on potty, gotten worse since baby born. Doc says because probably jealous, but okay. Here's what could be happening. There are 3 reasons for this, usually. It's very, very, very common. They'll pee on the potty, but they won't poop, especially boys. I won't go into great detail, but I kind of know why. Anyway, here's the 3 reasons that boys won't poop on the potty. One, or in the toilet. One of them is splashback. The reason why they don't like splashback is they got a little bit more stuff going on hanging down there, and they tend to get splashback, and they're very sensitive about that. So that's one. If they've been splashed down there in the toilet, they don't want to poop anymore in the toilet. The other one is hanging phobia. They don't like the feeling of the pulling and the hanging, right? Think about it. I can't go into great detail here, but you get the idea. So they don't like that feeling of it hanging in midair. The other one is cold. It's cold. They don't like the wind up their kilt while they're pooping. They feel very exposed, and they got the hanging and maybe splashback happening. It's a whole thing. So here's what I recommend you do is you have a favorite show that they can only see, or a video, whatever, that they can only see on the iPad or the phone when they're pooping on the toilet. So, and you get them on a little potty, not the big toilet with the water in it. Get them in a little potty and explain to them, look, there's no splashback, there's no water in here, and line it with toilet paper so they can feel that on their bum. And put the heat up in the bathroom at the same time. So you've warmed it up, they haven't got all that hanging, and there's no splashback. Give it a go. I don't know. Once they get that in their head, it's really hard to sort of change that. But that's usually can help. Does that make sense? Sorry, I just have to skip ahead because just so I know that the person asking is still here. Tips for bedtime crazies, 2.5-year-old boy. I have a whole course on bedtime battles. It's 2 parts, how to get them in bed and how to keep them there. Also, if you've bought courses from me in the past, keep watching. I'm adding videos to every section of every course. The big boot camp course I don't know when it'll be done. I don't do all that. I do all the taping and all that, but someone else does all the other harder stuff. So I don't know when that'll all be done, but I'm adding videos to all the courses. So if you bought one before, keep an eye out for videos on all the courses. But anyway, I have a whole course on bedtime battles from 2 to 8 years old. You might want to check that out. It's 2 parts. Get them in bed, which is the easy part. Keeping them there, that's the hard part. So yeah, it's a whole process. It's a whole system. Tips for different parenting styles, one being the leader and one with too many words. So the leader and the pleaser, you're asking me for tips on being the pleaser parent? Stop doing it. That's my tip. The leader is all I teach. It's all I know. So what I suggest you do is whoever gets the best results, which is usually the leader, say, look, I think my way might be working a little bit better. Can we agree for 3 weeks we do it all my way? And you follow my lead. And I always tell the pleaser to defer to the leader. Okay, so just make an agreement for 3 weeks. You're going to do it that way, and don't insult the pleaser. It doesn't get you anywhere. Just say, look, I think I might be getting better results this way. So can we just do it for 3 weeks? And then praise them for being on board with what you're doing. But yeah, that comes up a lot in one-on-one coaching. Well, you've already answered your own question here. 2-year-old intense negotiating at bedtime. How can they negotiate if you're not talking back? Like what I mean is they pull you into negotiating. Yeah, I don't do that. Bedtime and it's happening. I don't discuss it. Anyway, check out the Bedtime Battles course. It's how to get them in bed is the first part, then how to keep them there. I've got to go over to TikTok now. If you want to go over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Otherwise, check out my link. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'm going over to TikTok now. All my videos, all my lives are filmed on YouTube and saved on YouTube. Okay, I discard that. I don't keep them on Instagram. I keep them on Facebook for 30 days. And okay, TikTok now. Just waiting. TikTok comes in slowly. Instagram, everyone turns up at the same time. It's bizarre. I don't know why. I can't figure out how that would even work. It's really weird. Okay, hello. Petra, you've been here before, haven't you? I am. Hi, I am. I don't remember seeing you, I am, or maybe you use your real name, don't you, on Facebook and Instagram, maybe. People have different names on different platforms. I'm Bratbusters Parenting everywhere. Anyway, my granddaughter's due. She's overdue now. So we thought it might have been today, and we're all excited, and now we're like, oh, it didn't happen. So yeah, just kind of waiting. Babies have their own schedule. Can't rush it. Can't, they just have their own schedule. But she's overdue. Come on, she's running late. Okay. And I think it was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember which, I hit 600,000 followers on TikTok. Thanks so much for that. I can't say enough about that. No one is more surprised than me. Less than 2 years ago, my daughter kept saying, for a year before that, she kept saying, Mom, you got to go on TikTok. It was made for you. Because I don't like anything planned. I like everything casual and quick and easy. And I love talking. So she goes, Mom, TikTok's for you. And I said, yeah, but I'm not a 12-year-old dancer. Anyway, I just blew up overnight on TikTok. No one was more surprised than me. And I'm so grateful. It really changed my whole life because it made me hone my message on these platforms, because before it was all different. I was working with the old-fashioned media. I was doing a lot of different work. It was just so different. More public speaking. I'm not doing any of that now. I'm just focused online. And it's just been wonderful. So thanks so much for that. It's opened up a whole new world for me. Very grateful. And I really am. I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate your support because that means that I'm on the right track. That means that I'm actually helping you. And that's what a wonderful thing to do, to be in a business where you're helping people. I'm 63 years old. And that is, as you get older, you appreciate that even more, I think. But yeah, what a lovely job to be doing it. Okay, let's get going with your questions. Remember, I'm also filming on YouTube at the same time. That's where all these lives are saved. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or my coaching one-on-one. I did get rid of the one-session coaching because it's so frustrating for me not being able to catch up with people and talk to them afterwards. How's it going? And I didn't feel like it just wasn't as satisfying for me. Because it's like, okay, I throw all this information at someone, then I don't get to check in and see how it's going. Wasn't working for me. So I finally got rid of it. I've just got the 3 and the 5 session package now. Anyway, can you make a list of common, consistent corrective actions? Yeah, no one's ever asked me that. Isn't that interesting? Oh, that's such a normal thing to ask. Why have I not been asked that before? I'll write it down. Just a sec. List of consistent corrective actions. Yeah, I can't believe no one's asked me that before. That makes sense. Corrective actions. Well, I mean, it's different no matter what's going on, but I'll come up with a few scenarios. I'll figure something out. I don't know when I'll get to that. My list of everything I want to do is huge. But anyway, okay, good question. Thanks so much. Okay. 3-year-old still in diapers. It can happen. I can be older than that too. Anyway, so yeah, your kid's not a freak. They just don't want to go in the potty, okay? So a lot of parents say, what's wrong with my child? Yeah, they're just late bloomers with some things. That's okay. Anyway, check out my potty party course. It's a mini course. It's in the link above, and it teaches you, it's a whole system on how to potty train. And it's supposed to be fun. Party hats and everything. As they get older, if you've tried potty training in the past, it'll probably be a little bit harder, but just make it fun. But yeah, check that out. I can't go into it here because it's a whole system and how you do it. But anyway, check that out. It's just one of my mini toddler courses. So sorry, I'm just checking my email. I got to check my messages because my son's baby is due a few days ago. So every time I get a message, I'm like, oh my God, is this it? Sorry, I'm just on edge because they had a maybe today and it didn't happen. So I have to check. It's my first grandchild. So anyway, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm gonna contradict you on this. Hannah, bed training for 2-year-old who's used to co-sleeping. I know it's not good. There's nothing wrong with co-sleeping. If it's working, it's one of those things. Like people say, I know you probably hate it. No, I don't. That's your personal choice. It's like saying you like this certain religion or something. It's a personal choice. It's like religion, co-sleeping, homeschooling. Those are all personal choices. There's no right and wrong. It's just that when you want to end co-sleeping, that's when it can be a little bit challenging. Anyway, check out my bedtime battles course. It's a mini course and it just teaches you how to get them in bed and then how to keep them there, which is the hard part. So it's a whole system how you do that. So I can't go into all that right now. But anyway, but yeah, check that out. And there's nothing wrong with co-sleeping. I don't have any opinion on that at all. Like I do have an opinion on accelerated learning. I don't like it. And a lot of people are surprised at that, but yeah, I can't stand it. Accelerated learning. I have a lot of reasons for that. But anyway. Yeah, with the new baby, congratulations. Yeah, she's late. Yeah, the nerve, eh? Anyway, we'll see. 10-year-old still wearing diapers for night. I don't know. Is that a medical reason? Sometimes they have, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I've been told this by doctors that sometimes they have a short tube between the bladder and the urethra or the whatever, the PP place. That's not what the doctor said, by the way. But anyway, so they have a really short little tube there. And so that's part of it. Another one might be they have a small bladder or else. And then a lot of doctors say what you should do is you should have them stop and start. So when they start to pee, have them stop. So but then some of them they just don't develop properly. And then they'll catch up later on, but they might be really late developers with all that equipment down there. Okay. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. Take them to a doctor. See if it is a physical thing or an emotional thing. But yeah, I would have them stop and start at home. That's what the doctors usually tell me that they tell parents to do. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Isn't that ridiculous what I just said? The tube between the bladder and the pee-pee place? It's embarrassing. Ah. I should make a video out of that one. That was so dumb. I say some really stupid things. What's accelerated learning? It's when you got a baby and you use cue cards and all that. You're trying to get them to learn the alphabet, the numbers and words and read. And parents, they use it for bragging rights, right? Look what my child can do. What you're doing is they got plenty of time to learn down the road. Why on earth does a 2-year-old need to know the alphabet? And then they're going to be bored when they go to school, right? And they're just so bright. They're so bright. And then they're acting out and they're hanging from the Venetian blinds because they're bored because what they're learning. They got so many years ahead of them of learning. Let them play in the mud and get dirty. Let them pick their nose. Let them be little kids. I just don't like pushing all this learning on them when they're so little. I've never seen it be a benefit. Not once, not ever. I've worked with hundreds of kids and I've never seen it be a benefit. I think it's more beneficial to let them play in the mud. They got a lot of years of learning ahead of them. Why rush it? It's usually for bragging rights for the parents. Look what they can do. And you're like, yeah, snore. No one's impressed. Do you support Montessori? I don't care one way or the other. That's like asking me, do I support Catholic religion? It's a choice. I don't have any opinion on it whatsoever. It's a personal choice. The only thing that I would say is if it's an alternative school system, Montessori, and it's sort of like homeschooling too. They're just a little bit, they're not in the mainstream basically. And then what happens is those children often go to high school, like regular public or high school, and then they often struggle socially if they have not been socialized with non-Montessori or homeschool kids. So just make sure that you have them out socializing, joining classes, joining theater, whatever, with all other kids. So they can tend to struggle when they're teenagers and they go into, and then they're mainstreamed. They can tend to struggle socially. That's the only negative I've ever seen. But I don't have an opinion on it. It wasn't my choice, but it's just personal choice. Okay. Success with behavior board with young ADHD and ODD kids. That's where I learned all this. And ODD is not a medical diagnosis. It's a term that was invented to make moms feel better. That's what all doctors have told me that I've asked. They said, yeah, it was just invented to make moms feel better so they can blame the kids and not themselves. That's what all doctors have told me that. It's oppositional defiant disorder. It's not a real thing, evidently. It's just something to make the moms feel better. That's what they say. Yeah, that's where I learned all this. I didn't learn any of this with my own kids. I learned all this with working with kids who were challenging. I call them alphabet kids. WXYZ, ADD. You know, they had everything after their name, right? That's where I learned all this. How do you handle teens vaping, smoking, and lying? Well, that's the byproduct of parenting. Like, I would need to figure out what kind of parent you are. When did this start? What's your relationship like? You know, I need to assess the whole situation, and then we could get to work on it. That would be one-on-one coaching. That's sort of next level. I'll never have a course on that. Okay, if they're doing all those things that are really bad for them, that would never be a course. That would be one-on-one coaching, because I need to work with you personally and find out what kind of parent you are and where to put our emphasis, where to start to work on your relationship with your teenager. And we never address those things first of all anyway. We build your relationship and your bond with your teenager. I teach you how to talk to them. And then we can get to work on the other stuff. Yeah, it's tricky. There's no guarantees with any of this, but I've got a lot of experience. But you changed your TikTok name. No. Did I? It does look different. Am I on Bratbusters? Am I on the wrong one? Now you got me thinking. Just a sec. I don't do my TikTok anymore. Someone might have changed it for me. Interesting. Why would it be Lisa Bunnage? Just a sec. I got to check this out. If I don't do it now, I'll forget and I won't do it later on. Oh, no. This is my parenting one, right? Yeah. Because I do have another personal one. I just talk about fitness and old lady stuff. Interesting. TikTok, Lisa Bunnage. I'll ask the person who has access to it. TikTok, new name? Interesting. Interesting. You're right. Oh, well, enough about that. That's not helping other people. That's just... the right account, just different name. So it is a different name. Yeah. Well, there must be a reason for that. It's probably just to market yourself better. I don't know. I don't do any of that stuff. So I don't know. I have someone else doing all that. Someone who's way smarter than me about all that. It's my content. Obviously, I'm talking. This is all my content. But someone else does all that other stuff. I'm so bad at it. You wouldn't believe it. Some of the stupid things I do. I did do my TikTok myself until recently. So I did manage to grow the channel. But I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes along the way. That's okay. If my child fights with cousins, do I get involved? I don't know the age and if it's physical, you always get involved. So I don't know what's going on. I would have to assess that. I need more information before I could answer that. Are they 2? Are they 12? Are they 20? And are they physically fighting, or are they having fun fighting? Is it 6 years? Yeah, I'd have to assess that situation. Fighting with words. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're fighting over. Jealous of each other. Yeah. It could go in a million different directions. So I don't know. I'd need the information, or else I'll just go off on a tangent that wouldn't apply to you anyway. It's one of those things. I need to assess the situation with more information before I can give you it. Plus, you're dealing with other parents too. That's always tricky. A lot of people say, well, what about if someone's hitting my kids? How do I deal with that? And I say, well, you never say that. You just say, how can we get our kids to get along better? You don't say, how can I stop your rotten brats from hurting my kids? You don't talk. A lot of parents want to say that. And I say, no, you say it like this. How can we help our kids get along better? Try and pull the other parents on board and see what they say. Yeah, I would just separate them for a while. Need help correcting my passive parenting skills. Well, just check out all my stuff. You can just keep watching me. I've got millions of videos out there. I'm on TikTok. Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And then you can check out my link and you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my boot camp course, so you can hire me for coaching. Just keep watching. A lot of parents say they never buy anything, but they just keep watching me. And you know what? I don't tell, there's nothing in those courses that hasn't turned up on here, but it's all packaged. You pay for the package, right? But yeah, just keep watching. Or you can buy a course, or you can just keep watching. It all sort of starts to make sense after a while. A lot of parents say they just watch me and things are way better than they used to be. So you can learn a lot just from watching these lives or the videos. I don't quite understand this. The Sierra, I've started holding my 3-year-old's hands down when he hits instead of pack and play. So help it. Instead of pack and play. I don't quite understand that part of it. So when they hit, you just restrain them. Yeah, you don't have to restrain them for hours, but you just hold, you say no, and then you just restrain them. But that's a 3-year-old. I would put down no hitting on the behavior board. I switch from consistent corrective actions with a toddler under the age of 3, and then at 3, I move over to the behavior board. But I still, if they hit, I would still restrain them from hitting when they're being held. Oh shoot, what was it? Someone came up with a really good question, and it was oh, I know. I did a YouTube video, and it kind of made sense because I said, what if you're being insulted if someone says, why do you let your kids hit you or something? You're in a group like a family gathering. Why do you let your kids hit you? And then I said, just say to them, crazy me, because you're just trying to diffuse being bullied by other adults for your parenting. And then everyone in the comments were saying, why do you let your kids hit you? And I said, no, obviously you're trying to deal with that, but in the meantime, you get other people coming at you at the same time. But I didn't make that clear in the video. So yeah, it made perfect sense that they would say, why should kids be hitting their parents? But it's funny. I don't worry about that stuff. It all works out in the wash. Please give advice if you have any. About what? Anyway, okay, I'm struggling to regulate my own emotions with the toddler and the constant defiance. I'm sorry about that, but toddlers are just a lot of work. Toddlers are just a stage. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. It's just a stage you got to get through. That's it. Okay. Top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you don't discipline them with words. That's your world. You discipline them with actions, consistent corrective actions. That's their world. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've just got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. Okay, they're just forming. They're still crazy because they haven't developed sanity yet. They're just not there yet. Okay. Do you have any advice for a really great 13-year-old boy who is starting to be disrespectful? Yeah, I don't have any courses on teens yet. My top 3 parenting tips for teenagers is, this might help you out. If not, teenagers are all coaching one-on-one, but if he's a great kid and he's just starting, this might be all you need. Okay. So number 1 is listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. I call it silent listening. When you get good at it, they'll tell you everything, right through the teen years, like my kids did, and like I did with my mom. Okay, number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything with a teenager. You say something like this: I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement. You don't do it with everything, but try and do it with as much as possible. And number 3, don't sweat the small stuff. Do not micromanage a teenager. Allow them to make mistakes just like you did. If you have big stuff, you want to save your energy for that anyways. So if they do something stupid that's not a big deal, what I would have said was, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Like, use humor, laugh it off. They're allowed to make mistakes because you did too. And that's okay. So that's my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. I would say number 1 is listening. Listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information. You don't wait till they finish talking and then say, here's what you should do. When my kids finish talking, I'd go, yeah, that's frustrating. And that was about it. And then they start telling you everything because they really just want to talk, right? They already knew what I was thinking anyway. Oh, this is cute. My girls are all teenagers, pre-teens, and I'd take the toddler stage back in a heartbeat. Yeah, teenagers are actually my favorite age. Toddlers are demanding physically, teenagers are demanding emotionally. You have to let a lot go with teenagers. It's more give than take. Yeah. At least toddlers, they're cute as a button. Teenagers, not so much. They're often gangly and their voices go like this and they got zits. And I mean, not necessarily cute as a button, but yeah, they're actually my favorite age, teenagers. Because once you get good at talking to teenagers and you know how to get respect with them, they're fascinating because they're very smart and they're very developed and, they're fascinating. So yeah, I think the reason why they're my favorite age is they were my biggest challenge. When I was working with kids, mentoring troubled teens was by far my biggest challenge. And once I figured it out, it was just so rewarding. I thought, oh, I get this. I know how to do this. It was great. So yeah. Okay. Oops. Okay. Said I can't even stop my 2-year-old from doing dangerous things like jumping off stairs or climbing. There are 4 things that kids are born to do or they're never going to do. It's in their DNA. They're just born this way. So it's not your fault if they're doing it, but then you want to learn how to curb these things. One of them is climbing. One of them is running. When they don't look behind, they just take off and run in traffic. They're climbers or runners. The other one is aggressiveness. They're either going to hit, bite, punch, and all that, or they're never going to do it. And the last one is tantrums. They're born with these tendencies. They could actually turn into a positive down the road. They could be really feisty, but also a real leader, and or they could be athletes if they're runners and climbers. But right now, they're annoying as anything. So yeah, they're either going to do those things or they're never going to do them. And I already said my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. The first one was childproof your home. Do the best you can. If they're 2 years old and you really can't childproof, they can still get into things. Put a bell on them or put alarms on things that they use all the time to climb with or something. But you're still going to have to watch them like a hawk because they're climbers. It's just the way they are. You can't fix everything. Okay, actually, I got to get going. My voice is starting to go. I've been talking all day long, doing videos. I'm adding videos to all my courses now. Every section is going to have a video. And I've been doing those all day. I've got someone else who put them on the courses, so I don't know when they'll be done. I've finished with all the boot camp ones. I don't know when it's going to be added, but keep an eye out. If you've bought a course from me already, go back and look at the course. Not right now, because that's just the boot camp one I've done, but I don't know when it's going to be completed, like when the person doing them for me has put them on. But yeah, keep an eye out over the next couple of weeks, and there'll be videos on all the courses. I'm just beefing them up a little bit. I'm listening to you. You all want videos. It is my strength, is talking, not writing. So it makes sense. But anyway, it's all the same information. It's just me talking. So anyway, keep an eye out for that. And if you go in the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. So you can hire me for coaching. And thanks so much for joining me. Also, thanks so much for your support. And this week I hit 600,000 followers here on TikTok. No one's more surprised than I am. Who the heck wants to listen to an old lady talking about kids? Turns out a few people do. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you so much. Anyway, happy parenting, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.